The Hamilton Ticats lose 26-24 to the Toronto Argonauts on Saturday. I'm here with the Spec Steve Milton. And Steve, another close loss for the Ticats, but another loss.
Yeah, this one, they lost at the beginning and they lost it at the end. And I know that sounds biblical in the beginning and in the end, but that's exactly where it happened. They really did control the game on both sides of the ball through the middle of the game. They had such momentum built up there after really what I consider a terrible start. And there was a lot of talk about the special teams and the defense's terrible start, and I agree, it certainly was there, and they needed to stop at the end. But to me, the offense, I mean, Zach Collaros, to his credit, took blame for a lot of 2-and-outs early, and his inexperience is still showing on his desire to kind of evade the sack that's inevitable and not throw the ball out of bounds. They talked to him about it last week, and it happened 2 out of the 3 sacks this week, I would say, were that way. Still, that's, as you so cogently pointed out later in the game when he made a great play by scrambling, that's sort of why he does that, because he maybe does escape. But that's knowing when to do it and when not to do it. That's part of a young quarterback's development. I'm very disappointed with the offense. And they yes, the defense gave up, nearly 500 yards, but they only gave up 24 points, and some of those were off bad field position. And if you hold the Argos to 24 points, history is, over the last 5 years, you win. They don't win without scoring 30 points. And they won today without scoring 30 points. So I flipped this around to the history. This is the offense. It did not score enough.
Ticats also had trouble, I think, containing Chad Owens in the return game. That was an issue. And penalties, which has been a constant theme all season long. They took a very costly penalty late in the game, lining up offside on a play in which they stopped the Argos, 3rd and short near the goal line. This has been something we've been talking about really since the preseason.
Yeah, and maybe we've got to look at some coaching issues here. And I don't know what the functions are of that. What makes a coach get a player more disciplined or a team more disciplined? And I don't think the overall numbers were bad on that. I think it was just the timing of it, and that's discipline, that's focus, that's a whole bunch of things that are mostly the player and mostly the unit, but partly the coaches. And so is starting the game not well and finishing the game not well. I mean, we're going to have to look at this. I mean, I'm not saying that Austin can't coach this team or isn't a really good coach. I'm mostly 90% totally impressed all the time with this unit and their approach to the game. But there's some numbers starting to mount here, like the beginning and end of games that point that way, that say, hey, we got to look at ourselves too. We're asking our players to look in the mirror. Coaches have to do it too.
Ticats now need to win both their regular season games to make the playoffs. If they do that, they will make the playoffs. It's Ottawa next week, and then they finish at home against Montreal. This Red-Black team has been, they've struggled for most of the season, but you lose next week, you're done. Yeah,
you're done, and you can't think through it at all, and they got to come out this more than any game you've got to start well, because if you do, then you can put your foot on their throat. And that's been a problem with the Ticats for several years, and maybe because they're not good enough, putting their foot on the throat of an opponent when they have them down. And they really have to do that first, get them down next week. That means coming out, being ready to play, especially offensively, and putting the throat. Because you got a guy there that's a wild card. Yeah, he doesn't have a lot of people to throw to, but Henry Burris, he's due to have one of those games. He's due to have one of those games where he comes up with the 80-yard pass and run on a play that you're not expecting late in the game. So the Ticats got to put themselves in a position where that won't matter.
Got to figure that Henry'd love to stick it to his old team.
I think he wanted to before. I mean, just because you're smiling doesn't mean you're not feeling things inside. And then it comes down to the Montreal game. But we were talking about this before, Drew. I really respect what Montreal's done this year. They picked themselves up by the bootstraps in the second half of the season to get to the point where right now I'd say they're the best team in the East, or the team to beat in the East. But don't you want to see these two teams play again, Toronto and Hamilton, as often as you can and in this building, because it's always great or at least bizarre. And today I think there was a bit of both.
A little of everything, no question. Make sure that you check out the Monday Spectator for Steve's column and the Scratching Post blog for all the up-to-the-minute Ticat news. Reporting from the Rogers Center with the Spec Steve Milton, I'm Drew Edwards.